You're on.
What does it mean to do social media well? How do we measure output versus engagement? What are the unexpected benefits when using social media for nonprofit leadership? Brendan D. Colbert, founder of the Colbert Group, shares his best kept social media secrets with us as an inspirational life coach, multimedia project director, and a philanthropist using the power of social media to enhance your message. Welcome to Coffee Time with Masterminds, a 30-minute conversation with leaders of mission-based organizations. If you're just joining us, pop your name in the chat and let us know where you're from. I'm Rebecca Tuttle. I'm the founder and principal of Grant Right Now and Grant Writing for Good. I'm joined today by my co-host, Peter Blakely of Blakely Consulting and Cynthia Rojas of 2 Year Growth. Brendan D. Colbert is an East Hartford native. He's a community leader who has spent the last 10 years inspiring people to become the very best versions of themselves. He's the founder and CEO of the Colbert Group, specializing in life coaching, multimedia projects, and philanthropy. Brendan believes that once we all realize our gift to the world, basic human compassion for everyone becomes much more attainable. He's going to come on today to join us and talk about some social media secrets. Welcome, Brendan.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Good morning. Hi, Brendan. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good, good. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Coffee Time. So, Brendan, we hear you have an interesting story as to how you began your journey into being a social media guru. Tell us a little bit about that story.
Well, one day I'll be a guru, but the story behind it is I jumped on the social media wagon at least 5-6 years too late. So that's how I was able to understand and develop an appreciation and an understanding for the tool. The key word is tool. That's how you are able to be successful when it comes to social media. Knowing the difference between social media being a tool for your company's or organization's success versus the base for your company's organization's success.
All right. And so your nonprofit, you help other organizations with their social media?
So I would say, yeah, that essentially came out of nowhere. That was never the goal. Mm-hmm. The Colbert Group is a rebrand that I did from my original organization, the Colbert Foundation, where we specialized in self-esteem and self-confidence, multimedia, and philanthropy. Pretty similar to what we do now. The only difference is during the pandemic, I became a certified life coach, and we moved all of our ducks and put them in the row of life coaching and social media. The partnerships with other organizations came very organically. It became, you see a friend. I have a friend. Her name is Marie Ari out in California. She has started a very successful brand, an apparel brand called Upcoming Millionaire. And just conversations. Hey, have you thought of writing this, that, and the third? Respectfully, you don't want to just proactively critique people, but when the question is asked, I will answer. Have you tried this? Here's this article. Look at this. And then, based on her feedback and feedback of colleagues and coworkers from my day job, you're like, maybe you're on to something. So if you're good at something, you might as well put your energy into it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Cool.
That's awesome. Sometimes the best laid plans are the ones we don't even create.
Yeah.
Right?
True. Yeah.
So, Brendan, Coffee Time with Masterminds. We're a show here for leaders of mission-based organizations. Welcome to our 41st episode, if you could believe it. 41. Pandemic feels like a lifetime ago. So many nonprofits, they're trying to get online, stay relevant, have a presence, navigate the intricacies of social media, all in support of their organization, but also of their communities. If you could offer some insight today, what does it mean to do social media well?
I think the key of doing social media well is understanding the beast. Get all of your preconceived notions about it out the window. What else? You can educate yourself. and utilize the employees, interns, and community partners that you already have to grow your social media presence. And I can confidently say all these things because all of the things I just suggested that people do not do, I've done for years. I used to do them. I'm young, but I have a huge bias against a lot of things that the traditional millennials and the Gen Z, I don't know what letter we are at yet, all the things that they do. My fiance calls me a grumpy old man, and I am okay with that. Yeah. So, when I started speaking over 10 years ago, back in 2010, there wasn't a picture. There wasn't 2010 probably would have been a digital camera. There was nothing. I had the mentality that if you weren't there, it didn't happen for you. I was under the mentality like, why does that make sense? I believe that the tree still makes noise, whether or not you're there or not, because your acknowledgement does not give birth to something. I have spoken at the United Nations 2 times before I ever went to the meeting. I was partnered with the Rotary Club of Hartford. We would go there for World Rotary Day. And I was one of the guest speakers. I don't know how that happened. I got to speak at a breakout session and nobody knew, but I'm okay with that because it allows you to be humble and it allows you to control the environment because I value those interactions I literally had with world leaders more than I would have valued likes, reshares, unsolicited critiques of what I was saying. So to answer your question directly, my advice to get started would be to sit down, have to have at least 25% of that meeting be individuals who grew up with social media. I was born in 1988. So although the period is short without social media, I still lived in a world without one. So I have a perception, but you also have those fresh out of college employees and interns of yours who have never known life without being connected to the whole world. And there's an advantage to that.
Yeah. They don't know life without being recorded.
Right.
There's a picture and a video for everything. I just got on TikTok and I'm very excited.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on there too. Check that out. Everyone go to TikTok.
Right.
Yeah.
Brendan, what are the advantages to being on social media if you're a not-for-profit organization, or what should you be looking for?
Well, I think there are a lot of advantages. I think there's more pros than cons. You get an opportunity. People are more likely to engage with you even digitally when your mission falls in line with their everyday struggle or triumph. You never, ever, ever, ever want to associate yourself with complete negativity. You may not view it like that, but if the only problems that you are solving are tragic, people will soon disassociate themselves for you for a lot of reasons. It could be their mental health. It could be triggering for them. It can be a lot of things. So when I first started doing this, I found myself only putting videos up that were dark. Not intentionally, not to be negative, but inspiration and motivation, it typically comes from a place where you are not inspired or motivated. So I think one of the pros, or one of the biggest pros you can do as a nonprofit, is just educate your community via social media to your mission and vision in layman's terms. Literally in layman's terms. You take the phone, you go to the intern who loves to be on social media. Hey, what made you take this job over other jobs? You're not going to name drop the jobs they didn't take. You can add some humor in there. Hey, you guys get free coffee. Boom. You go to a senior executive who, according to the world, doesn't exist, because who literally goes to the websites and looks at the organizational chart? I do it, but how many people do that nowadays? You even play up the fact that they may not know social media. You identify that youth is not always directly correlated to innovation, and age is not always directly correlated to wisdom. Because
Wow.
when I had interns, how old am I? I'm 32. I had interns when I was about 27. 27 is young. I didn't know how to do anything. Hey, how do you do this, that, and the third? I got a 12-year-old goddaughter who has to put me on game to the filters and the you know.
Yeah.
I did a video a couple of weeks ago just about being stronger than your fears. I do Monday videos in the morning when I get to work, and I changed the filter to black and white. It was my most viewed video.
Oh, wow.
Because I don't know the science behind it, but I looked it up on Google, and it basically said when you take away color or add color, it stimulates people. So I say all that to say there's no profession, there's no concentration for education that cannot be used for social media. You can hire a scientist, a psychologist, a psychiatrist, anybody, a counselor under any of those umbrellas, and they can positively contribute to how you are viewed. And the last thing I'll say about one of the good things they can use is once nonprofits start understanding that, or not really just nonprofits and, like you said, mission-based organizations, because just because you don't file your business as a nonprofit doesn't mean you're not mission-based. I think we need to get away from that.
That's true.
If you explain things to people in layman's terms, this is the problem we're trying to solve, and we're going to use all of these things for the solution, people will be less inclined to reject it.
Yes, I love that.
That's interesting because I've switched up my videos. They have a cartoon filter. They have a lot of different filters. And I think sometimes when you change the filter and you give less narrative to accompany it, it creates more of a mystery and an intrigue.
Yes.
Myra has a question for you.
Sure.
If we could put this up, it's really big. So I'm just going to read it. Myra says she loves social media as a form of expressing thoughts, business ideas, resources, communication, etc. However, she has many students who use social media in negative ways. Do you have any tips, Brendan, on what to tell them on how to use social media in a more positive way, especially during this virtual era? That's really a great question because this distancing can create that downward emotion for people. So this is a great question.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Mark, for that question, because it's true. That's the elephant in the room. We could talk about social media, the pros, all we want, but there are unfortunately very serious and dangerous and unfortunately deadly, relations to social media when it comes to kids and adults. My advice would be, accountability, letting them know that, anything and everything that you say, number one, it sticks forever. And number two, it can really hurt people and hurt yourself. I don't know who came up with that rumor that words don't hurt people, but words matter. Words matter. I don't know if it wasn't like a song or, you know what I mean? But,
right.
The wild part out that is if we, the four of us and Myra and whoever else is listening, can have a conversation about how social media posts, captions, filters can literally change the perception of your entire company. How easy would it be for something you put on social media to destroy you? And
it sure can.
I think young people and people of all ages, I think there is empathy that is missing. If I do this to somebody who is a town over or even down the street, because I'm hearing things on the news about how there's cyberbullying like within the Zoom meetings. With his, I don't know how they do that, but if you just readjust that energy that you have of being a mad scientist and push it to something positive, I think that will work. But directly to answer your question, Myra, I really feel that as hard as it could be to deal with that, identify those students who are busy on social media and let them know, do you understand the skill it takes to do what you just did? Why don't you reapply this into something positive. You know, you want to goof around in class. Why don't you do a project that, you know, makes fun of distance learning and put a PowerPoint together or put a Prezi together. I don't know if they still use Prezi, but put these things together and share it as an elective. But accountability has to be at the center. I am a huge supporter of cause and effect.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I think that, yeah, allowing young people to understand the power that they have. I know someone who did a very deep emotional message about a topic, and she got 30,000 views. She has more followers just based on that one video. And it was just a very honest video
yeah.
about something she's going through. And so many people reached out to her and told her that they understood and thanked her for making
Yeah.
that public. And so that's where the energy could be diverted.
Right.
Because there's a lot to talk about. There really
I
is.
think,
Indeed.
you know, I'm always very interested in the distinction between message and medium.
Oh, yes.
Right.
It's a whole nother show.
And
Yeah.
right, there's a tendency to conflate the two and think that it's like certain conversations are, you know, embedded in social media. What's embedded in social media is the opportunity to talk to a lot of people and for a lot of people to engage in the conversation and the, you know, the mathematical capacity for things to go viral, right? That's what that's. But the content is content that could have happened anywhere. So it's just that you see all of the extremes because you can see all of the social media, right? So you see the angriest conversations and the most hopeful conversations and the most constructive and the least constructive, right?
But you know, I don't mean to cut you off, Brendan, but I think to all of your points, it's like there's so much going on, and we would probably hold our tongue in the office. But when people are isolated and they have so much frustration, they're like, I can't keep it in here. I have to put it here. And you don't realize who is watching here. Yeah. And I think that's why you hear people not hold their tongue, you know?
Yeah. I didn't grow up in that sandbox. Like, you're accountable for everything. I was talking to when my neighbors have kids. I'm still adjusting to say my neighbors, you know, buying a house and all. But how are there going to be spies in the future? Like, are there going to be?
We won't need them. We'll just watch people.
Like, how do you survive at Quantico when you put everything in your life since you were 14 years old? Like, is there going to be deep agents in the CIA? Are there going to be FBI agents who are out in the field? That's that accountability. Now, I'm not trying to recruit the kid next door to be fed, but you know, you wonder about that, and and I like what you said about the media versus message, because to circle back to the nonprofits, I would like to see less of videos and pictures of you feeding a homeless individual and more of social media content of you having the meeting, having the what do we call it now? Having just like a breakout session with your team about starting this project. What's the internship process? What's the hiring process? A lot of companies have been doing that, and surprisingly, I see more for-profit companies integrating their workflow and their hiring flow and all in the day in the life of an employee than nonprofits. You know, who jumped on it first? The insurance companies jumped on it first. It was the call center insurance companies. You go online. Obviously, it was YouTube a few years ago, but they'll interview an employee. They'll say it's for interview. Those things help. I can tell you more about. Well, I don't want to say hiring process because a lot of people keep that safe because it's competitive, so on and so forth. But I can tell you more instances where I was fully aware of a day in the work of a for-profit organization than a nonprofit. And that's
a very interesting point, because I think we think of nonprofits as being very open.
Yeah.
But it's actually quite mysterious, even when you're inside them. The mechanisms can be.
I think because they struggle with what to say, because that's something that when I'm writing proposals, the question is, how are you going to market and and let the world know that you've received this funding in your project. And most nonprofits are like, I don't know what to write. But I think that's when that storytelling wave, Cynthia can speak to this, came into play. But still, how do you capture what you want to say? And I am not a believer in putting vulnerable faces on social media to tell your story. I don't like that. I don't like that. And so they don't know what to say. Brenda, can you help us there in that regard?
Yeah, another thing that I kind of started doing, not intentionally, I don't want to use the word ghostwriter, but I write a lot of captions for a lot of companies. Let's say that. That's if you had to ask me to do something for social media, it's your caption. That's my thing. That's my forte. That's where my skill is at. I can write long captions, short captions. I'm not a professional writer at any way, shape, or form, but I am a professional, humanologist. I know how people think. I know what to how to connect with them. I know how to do it. And the way I do it and do it so confidently is I never manipulate, ever. So when you don't know what to write, just write, just say it. I can tell you right now, I don't know how many people are watching, but at least 95% of nonprofit leaders or social media coordinators or whatever you choose to call them are worried about bragging. They're worried about sounding, or celebrating things. They're worried about the perception of people and how they feel. To your point, Rebecca, about the vulnerable moments, I am completely against that. I don't think there should be a picture, an iPhone, a camcorder at any type of homelessness event or any type of soup kitchen event. You put the flyer out, people know you're there. However, you can say at 2021's annual Mother's Day brunch, we fed X amount of community members. We clothe X amount of individuals. You don't need, this is not math class in 8th grade. You don't need to show your work unless you're new. Because if you're new, it's a different conversation.
The evaluator is like, oh, yes, you.
That's weird to me to feel like, oh, let me get Bartholomew over there to show them.
It feels like using vulnerable people.
Right.
And they didn't sign up for that. And it should never be a requirement. If you were going to give somebody something they need, they're now not in a position to really consent to having their image used in that way. It's unethical.
No. Yeah, questions work the best for me. What would you like to see? If we did this, how would you feel? When I put out an ad for the documentary I recorded like 4 or 5 years ago, it started with a Facebook message. If I made a movie about self-esteem and self-confidence, would you be in it? My DMs were on fire. The comments were, because they just wanted to answer the question. People always want to give their opinion, even if they pretend that they don't. People always want to be asked questions. That is literally one of the centers of human nature, to be needed, to be desired, to be wanted, and to be hailed as counsel. And that's what social media is. Unsolicited advice.
I think you hit the nail on the head there, though, saying that people are just putting themselves out there. Someone will catch me and just give me that hug I need, right? That love I need, that attention. I think you just hit the nail on the head there.
I think especially right now.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Cynthia.
Especially right now. You want to. I don't think I've talked about COVID. I did talk about COVID last year at the beginning because I was going through it, like mentally and emotionally. So I talked about it a lot. But since I got back on social media, I've only been back on, like Thanksgiving. I took a 6-month break, deleted everything, want to start organically because social media doesn't own me. It's just a tool. So when it comes to COVID, I talk about quarantine. I talk about people's self-esteem, but I try to flip it and turn it positive. I'll say, 2020 was rough for everybody, but third world countries live like this every day. 2020 was rough, but look at all the things you learned you could live without.
Yeah.
2020 was rough, but me and my fiance, we bought a house. We we have a better relationship, our finances are better, but it's because we're blessed to have not lost our jobs. So you always want to be careful, with those type of things. But to those to those nonprofit leaders who are watching or who are going to watch this, don't worry about what to write. Have a team. You don't have to do it by yourself. Like you're not like a pilgrim writing a letter to the war, and you don't want to say the wrong thing. Get a team. Ask everybody their opinion, not on what to write, but how did you feel that our toy drive went? How did you feel that our turkey drive went? And then when you get those answers, you just write. Let the intern do it. They look. All they're doing is this all day anyway.
Right.
You're not looking. Let them write some content.
We're coming close to the end, Brendan. I'm dying to know who, in your opinion, is doing it well in terms of nonprofit social media.
So, the YMCA of USA, the national Y, the best social media content creators I've ever seen in my life. They that I've seen so far. They do very, very well. They make, there's a million apps out. They make little videos. They make little cartoon videos. They ask questions. They do so well when it comes to social media engagement because they know that the kids are not buying their own memberships at the Y. The parents are, the aunts are, uncles are, the godparents. So they do very well and they content every single day. You should be posting social media, nonprofit leaders, listen to me. You should be posting every single day.
And how do you get around these algorithms? I mean, it feels like, and I love the message, social media doesn't rule me, but the algorithms do. They almost they control my life.
It's the Matrix. It's the Matrix. It's the Matrix Reloaded. You have to get some engagement. So if you're starting out and you want to do your thing in the beginning, ask those open-ended questions. Don't say this is our new. I mean, that can come later. Ask those open-ended questions because when they like it, when they comment, and when they share, I think those are the three kings when it comes to mastering the algorithm. I mean, if you really wanted to dump some money into that, there are apps that your organization may want to invest in. I don't particularly know the apps, but I know that they exist. And just put that content out. So if I see your message, and then my fiance is on my page and she sees her message, but she likes it more than I did, and she shares it, all of her 2,000 friends see it. So you have to get a seat at the table. That's the way I would answer it. You have to get a seat at the table.
I love that. I love that. Thank you, Brandon.
Oh, yeah, anytime.
Yeah. All right.
Do you have any other questions, Peta, before we wrap up?
So, I mean, one of the things I think we see is that people are sporadic about their social media. They don't get traction quickly because of the algorithms, but I think also because of their own lack of consistency and then right. So if you are going to engage in a social media strategy, how do you get started? And how long do you have to commit to this experiment, do you think, before you're going to start to see a result?
So I'll answer the latter before the former. You're talking 6 months to a year, depending on a lot of things. A little cheat sheet for you all. If you sign up for social media platforms that are related, you'll do better. Facebook owns Instagram, so your company wants to have a Facebook account and an Instagram account. Twitter, business-wise, and Rebecca, we talked about this last time, Twitter is more popular, is the most popular platform for businesses. More than Facebook, more than Instagram. Twitter will never die, ever. So you want to at least have a Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Depending on the type of business you have, you want to do the TikTok now because people like that. But you're talking 6 months to a year, and you have to post every day. It's like a hazing process. If you are not going to put in the work, or one of your employees put in the work, you're going to die. You're going to wither away and just be a page that's taking up bandwidth. Because what are you going to do? How do you get over that with a limited budget, low staff retention because of COVID? You have a person do it. You have to invest in your employees. You cannot process work all day and put up social media platform, because you have to be available to respond. You have to be available to post and to share. One of the downfalls, I know we're running on time, one of the downfalls that businesses do is not reply to DMs.
Yeah.
You are real to them. They say they don't have to go through HR, they don't got to go through an administrative assistant, an executive assistant. They DM you, you have to respond. And that counts as your engagement as well. So just do the work and stay consistent.
I think it's so important that you said a year, and that's a year with a plan. If you're just sort of feeling it out, it's going to take a couple of years, but people quit way earlier than that. So
your annual fundraising campaign is 12 months, and nobody has a problem with that. Put the work in. They'll stop looking for instant gratification, and you'll be around for a while.
Right. Yeah, and actually make it an important part of somebody's job.
Yes.
It's not. Yes.
Give them that title, that salary.
Please do it on the side. Yeah.
I mean, we've been here 41 weeks, right? That's a long time.
And one of the things that we learned recently is that most podcasts stop after, I think it was 10 or 11 episodes.
Yeah.
We didn't know that. But it is.
And everyone can test their social engagement commenting on our Coffee Time with Mastermind shows, right?
That's right.
Consistency. At least every Friday.
So like, comment, and share. It's important.
Brendan, thank you so much for coming today. This was a great conversation. I think we'll definitely need a part 2.
Let's do it. I'm always here in the office.
And we'll be looking for you out there and checking out your social media.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much.
Bye,
everybody.
Bye, everyone.